The Gold Rush, romantic encounters with the noble savage. San Francisco, gateway to the Orient. The 19th century, period of revolution and evolution. It was a time when artists began to leave the studio for the field as explorers of exotic, remote places. Contact, conflict, acculturation. These artists have left us documents of cultures in change and of traditions now lost. One of the most traveled of these wandering artists was a painter born of an immigrant merchant family in San Francisco in 1859. He was to travel and paint in the Alhambra of Washington Irving, in the Moorish gardens of the Generalife, in the Hawaii of Queen Liliuokalani. In the Samoa of Robert Louis Stevenson. Six years before Gauguin went to Tahiti in his quest of the noble savage. And 3 years before Van Gogh sought a visionary Japan in the south of France. Theodore Warris arrived in Yokohama. Probably the first painter to live among the Japanese as they lived, then expressly forbidden. Europe had first discovered the art of Japan 3 years after Perry's voyage, when Félix Bracquemond found an edition of Hokusai's manga in a Paris shop, and shared his discovery with Baudelaire, the Goncourt brothers, Manet and Degas. Soon everyone was collecting exotic prints from this floating world and attempting to use their strange compositional devices. This discovery sparked a revolution in Western art. Superficial at first, with bric-a-brac, as with Monet, or Toulouse-Lautrec. But then, profoundly. Degas, especially penetrating to the Japanese essence and combining it with the new vision of photography. Frozen action. The snapshot effect, wide angle, created a new kind of picture composition. It is strange, Edmond was to write in the Goncourt Journal, this revolution brought by Japanese art in the taste of a people who are the slaves of Greek symmetry. Whistler was among the first to appreciate Japanese art, and one of the first to digest its qualities. With Baudelaire, Manet, Zola, and Degas, he rummaged through La Porte Chinoise when it opened in 1862, the first store in Paris selling Oriental art. The following year, Manet painted Déjeuner sur l'herbe and Olympia, and Whistler began his first Japanese pictures. Perhaps the great lesson Whistler extracted from Japanese art was simplicity. And in 1876, in San Francisco's Palace Hotel, George Turner Marsh opened the now historic Marsh store, the first store in the United States devoted exclusively to the sale of Japanese art, art which Warris could now see as he returned home in 1881. Many young painters returning from success abroad could find nothing worth painting at home. Not so with Warris. He immediately took a studio next to the painter William Keith in the Montgomery block. Imbued with the Orientalism sweeping Europe, he found an untouched subject, San Francisco's Chinatown. The Chinese Quarter, prior to the 1906 earthquake, survives in early photographs, as in Arnold Genthy's Street of the Gamblers. But a still earlier Chinatown survives in the paintings by Juarez. Here, in this first success, he demonstrates his role as ethnohistorian, giving color on canvas to the stark black and white realism of the photograph, and recording details of a culture in transition. Languages came easily to Juarez, and he quickly established rapport with this ethnic enclave. He soon had a following of 12 eager Chinese students.